In the mid-1920s, members of the Osage Native American Tribe started dying at an alarming rate. The tribe, who controlled the oil rights to the rich deposits found under their land, were dying in ways that were very mysterious, and one Osage member, Molly Burkhart, played here by Lily Gladstone, begged the government for help, leading to intervention by the agency that would soon become the FBI, only to discover that the perpetrators are much closer to home than she ever could have imagined. Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, despite not having even opened in theaters yet, has probably been written about more than any other movie this year outside of perhaps the Barbenheimer phenomenon. One can easily understand why, as it's the work of perhaps the greatest living director in Martin Scorsese, and this is the first movie that he's made that brings together his two favorite leading men, Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, although the two have of course worked together before on This Boy's Life. It's also noteworthy because Scorsese has been uncommonly open about how his conception of the film changed after consulting with the Osage Nation, which led to a shift in how the story would be told. Initially, Leonardo DiCaprio was set to play Tom White, the agent who worked for the older incarnation of the FBI and investigated the crimes, only for the actor to eventually opt to play Ernest Burkhart, one of the murderers. As the movie became much more about the Osage Nation and the killers themselves rather than the investigation, the type of film that this became certainly changed. And as such, Killers of the Flower Moon emerges as one of the most complex and ultimately disturbing true crime tales of our time, with DiCaprio's Burkhart emerging as perhaps the most complex character he's ever played. When the movie opens, he's returning from service of World War I, where he was a cook, and eager to get the good graces of his rich uncle, William King Hale, played by Robert De Niro, who's a political boss and millionaire in Osage County. As per his uncle's wishes, he becomes close with Molly Burkhart, whose family owns the head rights to a significant portion of the oil reserve under the territory that's owned by her tribe. On paper, Burkhart sounds like a murderous opportunist, which he was, but he was also a man of contradictions, who actually loved Molly and was loved back despite the fact that at one point he was actually poisoning her on his uncle's orders in an effort to inherit her land. How do you reconcile his loving Molly and the fact that he tried to do away with her? Perhaps that's the most disturbing aspect of this story, with Burkhart and Hale dehumanizing the Osage people to the point that they were able to thoroughly compartmentalize the fact that they were murderers. DiCaprio gives one of the best performances of his career as the none too bright but occasionally charming Burkhart, while De Niro also tries to play Hale in a way that doesn't turn him into a caricature. It would have been easy to portray them as monsters, but Scorsese and his writer Eric Roth, working from David Grant's amazing nonfiction book, humanizes them, making them all the more compelling and disturbing. De Niro and DiCaprio have usually been kept separate by Scorsese, with him perhaps waiting to capitalize on the cachet of bringing them together for the right project. This was most certainly the perfect opportunity, with their scenes having an incredible charge to them. As you're watching this, you never forget that you're watching perhaps two of the greatest living actors play off each other. Lily Gladstone as Molly is just as good as DiCaprio and De Niro, with her tender and vulnerable as the trusting but sharp-witted Osage woman. While she's wealthy, she also has to get financial approval from a paternalistic bank president who, incidentally, is also shown to be head of the local KKK chapter, to use money that's rightfully hers, as she's been listed as incompetent despite being anything but. You get why Molly could be charmed by Burkhart, and you buy the notion that despite everything, they really do love each other. It's hard probably for a modern audience to understand this dynamic, but Scorsese really does make you feel it. The rest of the cast is similarly good, with Scorsese mostly staying away from big stars in order to cast more authentically, although we do get Brendan Fraser and Jen Lithgow in nice roles as the defending and prosecuting attorneys in the case. Country singer Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell make just as big an impression as the bigger names in the cast. The First Nation roles are brilliantly cast, with Canadian icon Tattoo Cardinal as Molly's mother opposite younger actors like Cara Jade Myers, Janae Collins, and Gillian Dion. Jesse Plemons is also excellent as Tom White, the wily agent who affects a laid-back country boy demeanor, but is a sharp, empathetic lawman looking to do what's right. Character actor Pat Healy also has a nice role as one of White's investigators, while the movie also has solid cameos for Jack White and genre icon Larry Fessenden. As usual, Scorsese's technical credits are immaculate, with the late Robbie Robertson contributing a subtle, elegiac score, while Rodrigo Prieto's cinematography demands this be seen in a theater rather than streaming. To note, the 3.5-hour running time is proven to be controversial, but it should be noted that Scorsese and his ace editor Thelma Schoonmaker know exactly how to pace a movie like this. Sure, it's long, but it never drags, and indeed, part of me hopes that the streaming version is even longer, as I'd love to see an even deeper dive into the material. As usual for Scorsese's later work, this ends on a bittersweet note, given not only the material, but also the fact that we really never know if this is going to be the movie he decides to end his career on. Scorsese himself appears in the movie's epilogue, in a moment which could serve as a nice chef's kiss to the audience, but God willing, he's got more movies left in him. There's really no one out there that could have made Grant's novel, which was a masterpiece of reporting, into such a beautiful film, but he certainly did. It's one of Scorsese's truly great movies and an event for lovers of cinema. I have no hesitation giving this one a 10 on 10.